Okay. Whew. So, last video aside, I'm back to discuss maybe I'll just bring this right here. Sure. The concept that pardon me. Maybe I should have made sure my computer could handle this right now. The concept of that when the Earth expanded, maybe I can pull up my YouTube clips. When the Earth expanded, it did this.
Continental rifting is the breakup of a
With no oceans yet. Maybe some fracturing here, some faulting here that occurred that maybe around the Himalayas, but that if any at all, it was only there. This did not exist like this. The Indonesian archipelago was formed of continental debris pretty much from the explosive expansion of the Earth when it's supernovaed. So essentially, like, minus all the ocean, at least the whole of the Pacific, and probably almost all of the Tethys.
the continent to form
And so here, it goes up here, very, very early.
the breakup of a continental rifting is the break.
So there's this. Although that's interesting now. It just occurred to me that this sequence, it's possible that there were undercurrents before there were overcurrents, like before the Mediterranean was carved, say, and then the Atlantic. Underneath this already, like subterranean, maybe it was carving more substantial pathways, because what I'm about to say is more in the 252 million years of radiometric dating time frame. And really why I started this video was because of this concept that I was just kind of casually looking at and thought it would be, why not record it and see where it takes me, because I was looking into it. So, what I'm getting at is that this particle, I said, that this is essentially a particle that when the Earth expanded and energy propagated this way, and then it went up north and south, between North America and Africa, and then also between North America and Europe. And then Iceland wasn't there yet, but it kept going here. Although I don't. Let's see. Let's just look real quick. Iceland, age 20. Okay, so kind of in the time frame of the Himalayas being uplifted. Also, Iceland was uplifted, which seems to be like the supernova was 66 million, but the like processes to occur afterwards seem, especially like mountain building of maybe things that are fed from below had a delayed reaction, whereas like the Andes Mountains and the Alps, I believe, are more in the 65 million year time frame, like exactly when the Earth like supernovaed, because they were more from like collisions of energies at the surface rather than from a upwelling of actual material, where the Himalayas material was like a heat flow able to crystallize the material that was there. It sounds like. Okay, so with that in mind, I just wanted to check real quick. So it passes Iceland. When it comes north, so what I said in my previous geological related video was that well, my last research video on the Himalayas, and I think the Florida supernova one, which I was pretty proud of. I'm pretty proud of these like several just like it's like a freestyle. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if I'm gonna make some like cool finding, but it's going pretty good. Which to me means I'm just killing it. Like I'm at least like able to make pattern inferences on a rapid enough like rate as to not be too like, why am I doing this kind of thing? Because I didn't know how it would go. But anyway, so not to be all, because I don't know how this one will go. I gotta look to the future. Be like it's truly like a NFL. I mean, gotta look up to the work ethics of people who just like are utterly the the most like dedicated in their field. So like Tom Brady's probably a good example. I'm sure there's lots of good examples. Sorry, that's all I can think off the top of my head. Obviously, any athlete, any like any like martial artist athlete, like UFC or whatever, like anyone like that. But like on their shit, me, I mean, in my own ways. So like maybe I'm not on my doing it in that way, but at least when I do this, I feel on my shit in my own like little niche of like trying to figure shit out. And I mean, yeah, I know I got some other things to deal with, like the things that I can acknowledge people are killing it at in other ways that I need to deal with. I'm fucking. That's why I need to like make it so I can get money without somehow destroying the world in the process. That's the problem. I don't know what to do. Maybe it's all. I just need to quit, run away from this somehow. I don't know how to stop. I literally don't know how to stop. Anytime I see this opportunity, I'm like, no, don't you help me. I give them excuses to not help me practically. Like I mean, not intentionally. I just see it. It's like a fear thing coming out, I think. And maybe that's a lot of what happens for a lot of people in a lot of ways that are come across as like mean spirited or something that's like offensive to people, but really it's just because they're like it's like a fear based reasoning behind it all. That's probably a good thing to be aware of, that there is like a fear to like a new unknown. Maybe I do like produce that kind of like, what is it? So okay, so this is what I was getting at. So this crack comes here, and then it turns, which is interesting. It maybe has something to do with the Mjolnir crater, if I, Thor's hammer crater here, somewhere around here. And then it comes this way, and then it just runs into an end. And I mentioned that in the past I thought that the Himalayas, like my original interpretation was that the Himalayas, which is not to be all like, well, I've thought this all along, because this is not at all what I thought, what I'm about to like, but originally I generally tied this thing to the Himalayas, but my thought pattern was it didn't really look like it would angle towards it, like the propagation of the energy would go this way. So there just wouldn't be the Himalayas where they are, so it didn't really make sense for this. So I kept looking for alternatives. And I've come up with several. At this point, I came up with that the water came across here, here, and down here, and it literally made the mountain chain. That one I've at this point pretty much nixed. I'm pretty confident now that I was mistaken on that. That might have been skewed. I would say that interpretation, maybe to give some credence to people who are a little anti scripture interpretation. Maybe that like skewed me towards, because essentially I was like, well, I do believe, like, I am basing it off of what I believe to be ancestral narrative skewed across time, so it's kind of like the telephone game, but like possible to be interpreted if earnestly attempted and not like for the sake of just having an answer or like affirming an answer, but actually like for the sake of like what is happening. What was I talking about? Anyway, I'll just move on. The water that way, I kind of nixed that one. And then the next one to come along after, so the third model that I, for this, came along because of the shallograms, with especially Damador Kund. Kund. I literally do that every time. This one, so the model was, the thought was the water was on top of it, but it was imbalanced, so it caused the supernova of the particle there, that the surface was like resting on a pillar particle, like a more dense particle that literally supported the weight of the pillar or the surface above. But also as it presses on it, it causes like a current to flow, which then causes a field to flow around it, which then removes the surroundings and makes the particle more easily able to stretch out like a shallogram can. like maybe that, like that. And especially like that is what I was thinking for the Himalayas, where the wet water was more on one side. And then here's the Himalayas. But that one I've come to be like, well, now that I've seen this, this really clears things up. So back to what I was talking about and why I started looking at this. Maybe that's a downside to recording, is that I feel obligated to set up the video every time because I'm talking about things that are like, I just assume most people who watch this video won't have watched my other videos, so I assume I have to set it up. Otherwise, and even then, like it's not enough information. But like, if people don't want to watch, then so be it. At that point, like I can only do so much. It could be like literally the hundreds of hours. I probably have like 1,000 hours of YouTube videos. I don't know. Maybe that's a little excessive. At least a couple hundred, and of substantially novel stuff that's not really elsewhere. So I feel I have to like set it up so this energy propagation this way here really, I said in previously, I believe it comes in, it literally comes in. So like it, when it hit, it could have gone underneath here and into this region, which maybe it did in part, and maybe it did in part in other places, but it didn't enough to stop it from going this way, so it deflected off of notably the polygon here. So that's another thing that's kind of important, that there's these polygons that form um, like this, like exactly like this. And then sometimes they'll have oceans like this. I know this is polished, but. And then they also do this where they have like a larger particle with smaller particles around them. And then the larger particle supports, is the actual support structure underneath for the layer above of crust. So like a huge particle was here. There's a particle here. There must have been a particle here. This is probably like a void of where a particle was. Right there. Just like a just like a shallogram. So this is a shallogram also. I'm just saying these things as fact. I understand that it's not understood, like in the general public to be fact, but just please, I'm just speaking that which is. This is a shallogram opening. Like these. Like these. I mean, like all of them. There's this one's maybe a little better because it doesn't have the full. This side is as large as that side. It's got this feature, which is more like how this side formed. Like it probably almost had to form that way. If it had had two Tarum basins like opposite one another here, it would be way too weird. Like a full blown shallogram shape going on, but it doesn't. It only has the one, and there's all sorts of reasons why this is a shallogram opening. I I could defend this on stage with a. I could defend this stance. That's a shallogram opening. Like with the scientific community, come at me, bruh. Sorry, not to be all. I just gotta assume it and be thankful for anyone who's listening. So, anyone who's listening, thank you. Anyone who's not listening, doesn't matter right now. And when you do come to listen, thank you. That's it. Stop being a hater myself. I know I'm doing it. Okay. So I get distracted so easily. I know, guys. I know, but maybe that's not a bad thing. It's just the flow, I guess. I'm just lost in the sea. I'm just lost at sea, guys. Although I don't know if I'm lost at sea. So this energy comes this way, and then it seemingly wraps here and stops here in the crack, but then continues underground and like wraps around. It even cuts across here. It looks like it took like a shortcut. Like the energy was mostly going this way, but it was ultimately going here as like a sink. So it found there was a shortcut formed also, but it wrapped around. I mean, it clearly this is a circle here. I have a circle. Let's open a protractor. What? Why is it? I don't think it's usually not see-through. What? It must be because of this program. It must not do well with, I guess. This website. I'm not. Why is it not even? It's okay. Well, I guess I'll just enlarge it a little bit. Kind of eyeball it. Like, I mean, we can obviously, you guys can see it's a circle. I don't. Anyone who's not just casually that's the thing. I'm just trying to like play the game. Like anyone who's not just casually dismissing me can see the circle. I don't need like to show it to them. To you. Pardon me. To you. The not just the circle, but the multiple ring circle. Like it has an inner ring, another ring here, ish, like another ring, and it even goes out further. Like it did propagate into the energy, but there was energy flows here. So like there was energy flowing this way, and then it started to come into this thing, and essentially fuel it to a point of instability where it was under so much internal pressure, having absorbed all of this heat, that the external pressure was no longer able to actually maintain it under its conditions. So it supernovaed, and some of it went in the direction of where the energy was rotating here. But it looks like this island that formed. It formed like it even hooks around here. This feature here is because I would say the channel when this supernova occurred, the channel basically went down this way and deflected around it, and then there was a barrier here just like this. It was more like this. Across, across. So there was a physical boundary here. But when this thing exploded, it basically created like a maybe a bond or like a connection from that particle down into this region, and essentially it produced the Siberian traps at that point. Which came in this way. And I'm not sure why. I haven't really looked into this yet. the tough. Like it would seem based on what my analysis so thus far that the like this region doesn't really get reached that much. Although now that I look at it, maybe it also did like go in this way and just left. It really looks like it channeled through here and then maybe it came in this way. It probably did come in this way actually now that I look at it. I'm fairly certain that we can reliably think of it like that. That there are actual like channels, whether or not they're like where they are, because this is a magnetic anomaly map. But it basically means to me, I would suggest where it is a low anomaly is that there's some sort of actual void formed that is a channel, or at the even if it's not a void, it's filled with substantially less dense and more subtle material. It's not as influential of a magnetic source, probably not as, of any source, because it's just not as much substance because it's a channel that was carved. Okay, so this probably came. Okay, now that probably did come in here. Is that even matching this shape pretty well? It does look like it. I mean, let's see. 105 and then 52. They end just before that place. It's probably here. Oh, they end a little before even. Let's see where here is. 105-ish, 52. Oh yeah, so okay, that's fine. So it basically came in this channel and probably just sat there, just hanging out, bubbling, like being a source of outgassing. Maybe that's just what it was that was flowing, was this gas, like a gas that just needed out. I'm not sure what the Siberian traps are like exactly to know if that made any sense. Besides that it's volcanic, generally speaking, which would suggest maybe that it was a gas that was down here that then like came literally physically carved pores through the earth and pulled magma with it. That makes sense. Okay, so that's cool. See, that's what I mean. I like sidetracks. Like it's cool. It doesn't. I was literally gonna watch this video about a 2.5 minute video of a centrifugal separator demonstration, which I already watched twice now, and I am trying to think how it relates to what I'm talking about because I still haven't gotten to even why I started this video. That's the thing. It's so much information. Like I'm 30 minutes in. I haven't even gotten to the subject matter that I was trying to look into. So it looks like this flow came here, but it also came down here. So just to kind of finish this real quick, it came down here, and we can really see the lines here, and like a boundary, like like a riverbank or whatever down here, and just the paths carved by the flow. And then here we can tell the flow split. It went this way and it went this way. And this split caused the Himalayas. So over here, this comes, and here's where that distinct feature at the end of the Himalayas is, where it looks like a bunch of stuff just pouring through. And it is. It's kind of a. It looks like it's a similar thing occurred where the Himalayas maybe like almost like whipped through, like created a crack somewhere in the adjacent craton, and then the the forces of the in that direction caused the materials flowing underneath the layers of the earth to actually move and to cause a difference in the outcome of the mountains in this region. So this, like over here, wasn't formed nearly like the Himalayas to a point where we differ. I've really been recognizing why they're not considered the same mountain range more and more, because they're clearly formed in the same general process. They're to disconnect them, like it literally takes disconnecting them. Like there is no end to this mountain chain. Like they continue. And really, it even up here, here, oh, all of this, that probably has some bearing on what's going on here too. So that looks like kind of where those mountains were, maybe. I don't know. It's so hard to tell in this. Ay, ay, ay. But it definitely came this way, which I've already mapped out. So that happened here. I believe this is the bend where it goes like this, somewhere here, and then it goes this way. It's hard to say, I guess. But then it wraps around here, and I believe it was moving material. So like the flow itself was a gas, but it was also moving material. And maybe this explains kind of how quasars and like the more dense material goes further than the gas in some way, like the gas cloud, not the gas cloud. Like so this particle explodes, it releases not just gas, but it pushes debris and material with it, including its own, and so on, and that material physically travels down here and piles up at the boundaries of some polygon that resists the pressure and just causes it to pile up. And then it just piles up and piles up until there's this little section left here where it's just kind of, it's spiraled the whole, it comes in, spirals around, fills up that spiral, and then it comes in and spirals around here. But at that point, it's not pushing the material anymore, so it's more just shaping the features to be more voids because it's like a gaseous material pushing behind it. I'm just reasoning through as I look at this, by the way. I understand if this is not doctrine, but I do believe this is making sense as I go, so um so back to this, I kind of noticed it wraps around, and I thought that was interesting. And then I noticed in this video, so I thought, well, why not look at centrifugal things. Just see if anything can like spark something in my mind. And I just literally searched for like centrifugal separator specifically, something to separate because I felt based on this that this suggests that when this current flows in this direction and it reaches here, like it has one side going this way, so we can kind of see this edge here that continues all the way through. And then it has another side going this way. You can kind of see that edge. And I was thinking, well, maybe it's kind of like a splitting of things based on like their charge, where dependent on charge, it'll go this way or this way. And so in this case, the things that went this way caused like a pile up of debris down under the ground. Like the pressure that this applied on an adjacent layer was downward because of like the way it spiraled. That's my thoughts on the matter, to a point where like it still produced an outcome of mountains above, but it didn't produce like Himalayas. So like there's still some evidence of some stuff going on here. I believe that's probably related to the pile up thing. Well, the Black Sea's like right above the pile. That pile might be of value. Maybe that pile's got something to do with certain something something and something something something. Let's see, where is that? 3750. 3750. Let's see, where is that? Oh no. Is that, oh no. This way? Here maybe? It's around Tehran. Okay, so yeah, like that. Okay, that means, let's go back here. I was thinking there is around Tehran, right? Is there? So there's like a pile going up that way-ish. Up to Finland, I think. I'm learning the countries from this. It's hilarious. Pardon me if I admit to not knowing your countries beforehand, such as any countries I might have mentioned recently. Like I knew of and so on. Just like certainly I would not be able to be like, okay, Finland is in that position based on it. Like it's almost like a like a getting not trigonometry, but like a geometric positioning method. Once I have some pivot points to base off of, okay, that's where, okay, Finland's over there. And I feel like a lot, like that could be how, like that's how learning is. If there's not pivot points, then it's like, and it's just kind of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like if if the order's out of sequence, then this just ends up being, there's no pivot points, and then we start to kind of miss things and so on. But I know I'm missing things, so what do I mean? This strongly suggests to me that there was a rigid polygonal outline here. This boundary here is like one of the one of these types. Like there's a boundary here, so the energy flowed. Maybe I could find one. Like how it has an opening here. Like it flowed, let's say this way, and then it went into that one, but it like couldn't go through it, so it just kind of wrapped around and piled up there. There's probably even flows like that in these. This one's not as good of ripples as this is probably that one. This one I noticed here. This reminded me of the Himalayas. This right here. I know it's probably not exactly the same, but the fact that it does that is pretty interesting. The Himalayas have this divide right at the middle there, from here to here, that middle, right at the middle, where the shallograms are found, mind you. You know, the not fossil galaxy rocks, unique in this world, rocks found in one riverbed in the world, right there, very similar to this thing, which is notable that happened. That's all. I mean, people can assume there's no relationship between the two, but that doesn't make it so. Everything's connected. We just gotta figure out the details. Okay, so it does really look like, I was kind of wondering where that polygon is here. Let's look real quick. It pretty much starts. It's so hard to tell what's happening. Maybe I can make it out now. This looks like maybe there was that. There, and then there's that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, probably around there. Okay, so that's so around Copenhagen, maybe. Down to the Caspian Sea? Black Sea. Caspian Sea? Black Sea. Down to the Black Sea. So Copenhagen down to the Black Sea. Like here. Maybe here. Maybe that's why this kind of is also abuts it. Maybe that is that is that the Alps? It's crazy how this is compared to Asia. It's just less anomalous. I think that's a good way to put it. It's less anomalous. This is anomalous. Let's look for other places that are more anomalous real quick. Canada, United States. I'm immediately getting vibes of a ripple coming through here with an eddy here and an eddy here. Just a thought. I'm not sold on it, but I'll have to look at that more. I'll have to look at that more. Maybe I should look at Florida real quick. I'm here-ish. I'm like right over that blob. Key West is down here where this blue spot is, maybe. I'm just trying to see if there's some potential relationships to the coral reef things that are not actually fossils, as far as my research appears to strongly suggest. I mean, not by any intent of my own understand. It's not like I was like, okay, these things can't be fossils. I gotta prove that. I was like, those things aren't fossils. Holy shit. I see how. Here, let me explain. That's how it was. I was trying to think how to put it to not sound like exactly what I said initially. So, this goes this way, comes. So I was thinking there's a separation though of maybe that's going into the earth. So maybe that's like a negative energy. I don't know. The opposite. Also, the fact that it goes upward, like towards the uh, towards the pole kind of thing, where this one goes maybe towards the equator or towards the South Pole. I don't know. Although this really didn't go towards the South Pole. I'm just trying to think in what ways that might have separated. I do believe it's separated. Like that when this supernova went off down here and sent, or maybe it's not that it's separated, but that one of them was the supernova of this particle. Like it maybe carved a first channel down this way and caused this and the Siberian traps. Maybe. And then the supernova of the Earth, the core of the Earth, it didn't go. This went into the Earth. Like this went towards the core of the Earth, where the supernova, like a dendrite system. So it's basically like this particle produced a channel over here to then essentially have some sort of connection down into the core to like produce a dendrite between like a anode and the core's cathode. Whereas the core decayed when there's Earth supernovaed at the Cretaceous boundary, and that that caused a dendrite structure outward towards the universe, maybe towards the sun, towards whatever, like towards the sky, towards the cathode of a greater power than the Earth, like something that makes the Earth's core an anode, and the Earth's core, when it supernovas, like reach out to connect to some other source of energy through some conduit and some eh. Okay, let's just watch this real quick because it immediately will become apparent why. Oh yeah.
So we have here.
I'll start from the beginning. Cannon Water Technology Inc. This looks like a pretty good idea. I've never really seen this. It's pretty basic, which is good, very good. Like just creating a. I don't know. Like the principle is basic, which to me means there's something in this to maybe like be incorporated into just understanding, maybe even at some point some technology from some other realm that's like includes just the principles of the way of creating a vortex that this has.
Hi, I'm David with Canon Water Technology, and today we'd like to demonstrate how a centrifugal separator works. So what we have here is a centrifugal separator model that was provided to us by Lakos. And what you're seeing here is actually the separator, or the internal part of the separator, removing solids from a water system.
So this is the Lakos separators.
This lower section would represent your well, or the water source that contains the heavy particles or sand, silt, or debris. And what's actually happening is this is the inlet tube, so we're pumping water up into the separator. It's being cleaned centrifugally, and then the clean water comes out the outlet tube. In this example, it just goes back to the source so we can recycle it. So let's take a look and see what it's actually doing. So I'm going to close the valve. So as you can see, we're actually pumping the dirty water with the particles in it up this inlet. It goes into the inlet tube, what we call a tangential connection. It spins around
That.
into the inlet tube, what we call a tangential connection. It's
Tangential connection. Remember. I keep doing that. This thing had the energy propagate along the fracture, past it, basically. Past it, and then come back around and wrap back into it. Come back around, wrap back into it. Past it, wrap back into it. Okay, so the fact that there is this like even sideway fueling of it, because it didn't have to do that. It could have just went right in, like it could have just been boop, right directly into it, boop, but it didn't. It went to the side and it wrapped around it, which to me is probably because of some fundamental thing that maybe this can shed light on. So that's why I thought this little tangential connection thing was actually maybe something really important to understand. And here we are. Okay.
the dirty water with the particles in it up this inlet. It goes into the inlet tube, what we call a tangential connection. It spins around the inside of the top of the separator, and if you see closely, there's some slots.
Oh my God. It just occurred to me that like the tangential connection could be like basically like energy that flows into the earth probably doesn't flow in directly either, like obviously in some instances, but like a lot of it can flow in through some sort of conduit tangential connection method, and where it passes a barrier by getting through some sort of conduit, kind of like the Florida coral reef, whatever. What is fossil? While I don't know. It's probably here. Here it is. Oh yeah, I took a picture. I wasn't. Well. Through the channels, so that like there's inlets. Although this example, because of the like angle of viewing it, where it's small, like like relatively, like this is a star, understand, that's my perspective. And the reason it's my perspective is because that's true. Is that all systems function the same, the stable particles like this is a good representation of a supernova of a star. And maybe this is kind of like the Himalayas from a different angle. Just outrageously tall, but all folded in on itself in a way where it looks to us from a different angle, more like just a bloop. Just thinking if that could be so. I mean, that would be insane. If literally from a different angle of perception, Himalayas could look like more like this than like a sphere with a tiny little blip on it kind of thing. Because that does happen where different angles create substantially different ways of perceiving something. So, I mean, uh, and then again, touche. Okay.
And these slots help to create a
Okay.
the top of the separator. And if you see closely, there's some slots. And these slots help to create a vortex. And that vortex causes the sand to spin around the inside of the chamber, and the heavier material starts to drop towards the bottom into the collection chamber. In this section, all of the material gets collected.
Like below Antarctica.
Until it's time to purge the system. So it's cleaning the water.
I don't know if Antarctica is where it did it. I'm just thinking because it blew its top. Is it this? Down here, it's gonna blow its top. The whole top is gonna just rip off. Well, sever apart, sever off.
Up of the continents to form new oceans, and it's marked out on this animation by those red lines. It's one of the key elements of plate tectonics.
Did it already. This is from this. Okay.
You can see on the outlet tube, nice and clean, so no particles in the outlet. And once all this water is clean, it's time to purge it. You just open the purge valve and dump the system. So one of the main questions I get asked is,
it's time to purge. You just open the purge valve.
On this animation by those red lines. It's one of the key to form new oceans, and it's marked out on this animation
Purge
by those red
valve.
lines.
Gotta understand the Earth was a single landmass at the time, because that doesn't make sense otherwise. Like here, it cuts across, but it doesn't sever any piece off completely. It goes down here, it doesn't sever that off. It comes over here, it doesn't do this section yet.
It's one of the key
But that's already, let's go back a little bit. At this point, it's already beginning to do it.
And it's marked out on this animation
it's
by
already
those
done it. Like it's done by 150, and then it starts to go this way. So the first actually severed piece of the crust is Antarctica, and I'm not sure what that is down there. If that's Antarctica, and it's just got two chunks that I don't know much about Antarctica besides just a general mass and other interesting things that I've heard, but not much geologically about it, I guess.
red lines. It's one of the key elements of plate tectonics, and it counterbalances the material that's returned to the mantle by subduction of old.
So instead, though, the blew its cap is, I mean, it's like a purge valve. So that's how they work. That's probably good to know. They blow their tops, which, by the way, Beetlejuice did. I mean, there it is. Astronomers have concluded that Betelgeuse quite literally blew its top in 2019. I mean, this thing's about to supernova.
How do I pick a separator? A separator is based exclusively on the flow rate. So regardless of the inlet or outlet pipe or pipe size that you have, it has everything to do with the water flow. A separator is scalable. So whether you have a small system, medium sized, or extremely large, we have a separator to fit any need. For more information about
I'm just the way I research, people are like, "Pfft, what could he know?" That was really informative though, like that it is like purely dependent on the flow rate, how big of a separator you need, like how big of a container you need. So like if Earth has too high of a flow rate, inlet flow rate, it's gonna supernova. That's what I'm getting at. It's gonna blow that purge valve. That's for sure. It doesn't need us doing it. It just does it. It just does it. It doesn't need someone designing a purge valve. It just is. It's just in its nature. And then let's see if there's any way of looking at Antarctica here. A lot of times it's pretty hard to see it. Oh, this has good resolution of Antarctica, and way better than like Google Maps shows Antarctica and other things. Like it's usually just not, can't even go over top it usually. Usually you gotta have it like off to the side, like, what's it look like? That's real interesting. It's like a big void there that just has these. What? That's incredible. I don't know what to think of it. I mean, I've generally in the past. Where is it? Where is Australia? I really can't tell what the hell's happening on this. I don't think that's Australia. Is this Australia? Oh, lame. Lame Australia. It's probably hard. Or is that Australia? No. Oh, wait. That's not. This is Antarctica. Right? What was I looking at? That was so. Wait, was that Australia that was fucking with the explosion underneath it, probably? Oh my god, if it was. Oh my god, where was it now? I'm like, they don't usually show Antarctica. That's not, dude. Right? Please be not. Okay, let me find something I can actually locate. I think I just rotated this too much. Okay. Oh shit, it is Australia. Please, hold your applause. Hold your applause. Hold your applause, ladies and gentlemen. Please, hold your applause. Oh, yes. This is where the ocean opened up under. I've been thinking. And said that in my Dwarka video, I mentioned that in Australia, which was up here, and Antarctica was adjacent. Like, let me just pull up expanding Earth. Uh, ages. I don't know age. Something to get like an array of expand. Maybe this. I don't know. That's not it. Whoa. I've never heard someone say this. That's interesting. Was it impulses? I gotta check this out. Like, literally that much of pulses where, like, different things cause different outcomes. Like, only one of the attacks was actually the one that caused the flood, and it was, like, the Permian was caused by a different, like, written of event somewhere, and so on. Like, each one of them had their own little tie, and Dwarka was actually tied to the flood specifically, which was at 66 million years. Honestly, that actually makes potential sense in a pretty strong way. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Where'd that article go? What was it? This, where's this at? Let's see. I'll start here, probably suggesting. This is kind of hard to read. Okay, I'll have to look at their interpretations of things at some point, probably. This has David DeHilster. Oh. What? I've not seen him involved with anything that puts forth this 4000 BC for the expand. Usually it's like usually most expanding Earth models accept radioactive decay as a reliable method, radiometric dating as a reliable method of dating how old rock is. So like I've literally never seen, except for like when I mentioned it, someone mentioning it before, like in a comment section. I've never seen anyone even talk about expanding Earth in combination with this. So that's the mere fact that is there means it's probably something of interest to see what else they have to say. But I'm not gonna get down that tangent right now. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was marveling at the freaking obvious explosive evidence under Australia. So like this opening, I believe like something just hit Australia, boom, and like carved an opening that also shoved Australia. Maybe not hit, but like there was an outflow from here, and probably was like something major like hit. I mean, this is crazy. Cause this is a void pretty much, and then Like it literally tore through whatever the energy tore through here, created these pathways. Let's see what Australia looks like on if it has like obvious those pathways. Where was I? Yeah. That's where that like eyeball looking thing is. The Eye of Ra. I assume let's look right there. It's 22.7, 134. Right there. I think that was around here. This is what? 132 minus 24. Let's say 122 minus 24. What? It's like all the way over there. One 22 minus 24. 132. That would explain it. Minus 24. Okay, so it's kind of there. What's minus 22 at? It's up there. I mean, this could be off a little bit, I guess. The way this map looks here could be a little off. Does this jump? It doesn't jump. It's probably a little off then because it doesn't. It just has slices cut together, pieced together. So clearly it's not absolutely right around there. But I mean, it's certainly off center of this surface feature, which is kind of interesting. Maybe it's more up here. Or was it down here? It was down here. Wonder what's here underneath it. How is there not? Is there no evidence of an impact on the surface over here? It could be that it was just like such a gust. I mean, this looks like maybe like it kind of hit over here. I got off track pretty far, but that looks really telling of something to do with how Australia moved and how that big old gaping hole in the oceanic crustal age exists. I'm not sure what this arrow is about. It's not. Might be at a certain time in history, like just Cenozoic, like at the after. Is that from after the supernova, basically? Yeah. So post supernova, this pre supernova, something else. I should look at those. Of course, I cannot. What was I thinking? I wonder if I ever received. I would probably get some kind of notification if I was given access to another paper I requested. That's another problem. Like, I don't even know why I'm looking at that point. Like, I mean, obviously I can just look at it, but it's not quite the same as like in the flow of things. I mean, it's fine. This figure, it would be nice to see them. I'm like the behind the bars. Like, can I just say? Okay. This one said PDF. Does it have it though? Nice. At least it has the figures in a larger form. Okay, maybe I should look at that one. Ages at times T2 calculus for age. Okay, whatever. Ew. Look at that. Wait, where's 65? Oh my god, so I said it exploded here in my Dwarka video. That's pretty damn close to like where the growths are radiating from. Like suddenly there's a direction change here. That suggests the expansion at that time was from there. Also, I'm getting more open to the potential that there's missing land that is the moon. Not to suggest that that's the case, but I am contemplating it at times. How could you? Okay, let's see. A lot of upward. So they're saying that, but that seems to me kind of forced. Like for sure there was spreading, but that. Yeah, like there's no other spreading. Why is there just this like arrows? if that's purely because of the Himalayas, then that's kind of lame. If it's not, then apologies because it's not lame then. But if it is, then that's kind of lame. Because the Himalayas are not formed that way. Although it looks like we're getting some insight into like over here, and then it starts to turn according to the. And that's about it. This one that goes upward entirely, and then it bends. So the hexagon Hawaiian island arc 120-degree angle happened in post supernova in this phase from here to here. So I guess when it's supernovaed, it's a polygon. It has polygon blocks, so it hit like a bend in its growth rate where it had to basically physically cause the way that the energy was propagating out to shift. Like it just went down a different path, like here. um like the crack of the ocean floored. But in this case, like, by its expansion process, it was adding polygonal shapes that caused it to need to adjust in a way in the middle of the supernova process. Maybe something to do with it becoming a new particle, like sliding into slot of that particle for the time being, at least. Alternative. Okay, this one similarly shows a lot of that and upward. I mean, this is pretty much what I said. Even here, we're seeing green here, which is the youngest, reaching down towards that corner there, where I've been saying at times. Although I was just starting to kind of thinking maybe I was a little confused because seeing this, I feel much more confident that it does actually occur. How I was saying, where the energy propagated this way, although maybe Chicxulub was like around here somewhere. This is definitely not quite right in terms of the reconstruction. I'm not sure what's happening. The way it's got this on South America, like, why? I don't know. Okay. So like this is totally not acknowledging that there's a fault going between and like coming to there to along the edge, just right along the edge. Then if there is this green patch that then gets hidden, interesting. I wonder why they think that green patch existed just because it had to, based on XYZ. Although they're not considering an expanding Earth model, so I'm not sure that it had to. But based on our plate tectonics model, it had to. Maybe. Well, so before 66 million years ago, there was already like a... Oh. I'm not sure that I agree then. Okay. This green patch is a little more drawn in question because this blue this blue patch is way too convenient the way it works out. It just starts as like a blob over here, like a here's blue, and then here's this thing, and then at the end it turns into being like a thing, like the center of a circle. It's like more like the center of an object. Like over here is kind of off, and there's this big blue thing, but now it just kind of like, where did it go? It just apparently went under there, but like that would maybe make sense if this wasn't so looking like a primary thing rather than some secondary system down here. Just a thought. Okay, that's Australia. Let's look around some more. What other anomalies? I already saw that one. Maybe there's something here. Not really mapped thoroughly. Oh, the United States is, well, the United States, North America is crazy. Well, interestingly, it does actually border right there at what does appear to be the actual border with Mexico. Even underneath, there's a border. It's kind of cool that it naturally created the outlines for things like that. Like in the same way as like polygons. Like this does look like a big old polygon here. Like if the United States had its own polygon that underneath it that didn't even bridge into the adjacent. It's hard to say where exactly here. There's a distinct line there, although it does bridge. But here it's way more uniform, which is kind of interesting. Like the United States and Canada are certainly more of a thing than the United States and Mexico. To see that they're like intermingled energetically below the surface is interesting. Maybe that's even a thing in that way too. So I didn't get exactly much from the concept, except for maybe a little more of the centrifugal, this thing.
Tangential connection.
Tangential connection. And then also
It spins around the inside of the top of the separator.
that it has a separator, which means the tangential connection is into a container.
And if you see closely, there's
And then
some slots.
the slots. I don't quite understand the slots. I can't.
And these slots help to create a vortex. And that vortex causes the sand to
I just can't see them. Like how they actually are.
vortex. And that vortex causes the sand to spin around the inside of the chamber, and the heavier material starts to drop towards the bottom into the collection chamber. In this section, all of the material gets
It's like a matrix, like a big matrix. If it's passing through a big enough matrix that it's not, it doesn't separate it in and of itself by passing through the matrix. It's just by passing through the matrix it causes a vortex, because the particles are unable to be separated by it, but they are able to become turbulent. And something to do with the structure of it, so then it causes just that the more dense particles move to the center, and then at that point they kind of pile up, move, or start to flow down, but on the Earth they pile up at the outlet point, which is the South Pole. So it had a little more pressure in that region, probably, which is why it blew its top there. Like the actual system was just not as bound.
Collected until it's time to purge the system. So it's cleaning the water. You can see on the outlet tube, nice and clean, so no particles in the outlet. And once all this water is clean, it's time to purge it. You just open the purge valve and dump the system. So when
Holy crap, it's almost like a planet will take in fuel and then it will pass it through some sort of separation process like this. And then it will like take all these particles. It's like gathering food. It's like a whale. Eating little things, just gathering particles in the water. Kind of concept here, at least.
open the purge valve.
In the subtler, like not substrate, in the solution, solvent, whatever the word is. Sorry, I know I should know that word.
And dump the system. So one of the main questions I get asked is, how do I pick
Like with certainty, as a chemical engineer, I should know that word, but I don't. What?
a separator? A separator is based exclusively on the flow rate. So regardless of the inlet or outlet pipe or pipe size that you have, it has everything to do with the water flow. A separator is scalable. So whether you have a small system, medium sized, or extremely large, we have a separator to fit any need.
Yeah, I wish he had explained that more, because it's gonna probably be hard to find what he meant by that exactly. Okay, it's 2:30 in the morning. I'll get back to this later. I know I made like no progress in the topic, but good progress in other ways, I feel like. So cool. I feel like another successful video. Like I mean, literally just to have anything new happen in the video is cool. That I never thought before, and maybe a lot of maybe people have thought before, but I mean, I think it's a low frequency, let's say, at least in this recent time history. And like this was huge. I would say I look forward to really looking into this map more now that it's starting to kind of make sense to me a little more. Also, this is not Greenland. I looked at it before, thinking maybe it was Greenland. Greenland is here. This is in the middle of the Arctic Ocean. That's kind of interesting. Like it's more so here, I believe, that feature. It's like it did like the Tibetan Plateau, maybe. I guess it could have. I don't know. It's hard to say. Because the map's also kind of hard to look at. It looks like that was. Like, this is interesting. Like, what happened here? I'll be back later. Peace out.